Hello, how's it going? Did you have a nice Christmas? 'Cause I did. In today's video, I'm covering Fel Omens, reopening the Dark Portal, and Lord Daval Prestor from Chronicle Volume 2. So let's get... Khadgar sent a message to most of the Alliance leaders, basically saying get your butts to Netherguard Keep for a brain trust meeting, as soon as possible. It's a matter of life and death. However, there was a bit of reluctance. The Second War had only just finished, so most of the kingdoms were still a bit busy rebuilding stuff. But they all agreed to the meeting anyway, because everybody loves Khadgar. When they arrived in the region, they kind of realised why Khadgar had seemed so dramatic and urgent about it. The Archmage and his Magi had managed to stop the spreading Fel energies, but some damage had already been done. The entire southern half of the Black Morass was now a wasteland. People in the area had taken to calling it the Blasted Lands. Blasted Lands? The northern part of the Black Morass was still teeming with life, but was renamed the Swamp of Sorrows in honour of those who fell during the Second War. But seeing the effects that Fel had on the region was a sobering reminder of the dark forces the Alliance had faced, and could face again, at some point, probably within the next few minutes. The state of the land wasn't the worst of it though. Khadgar informed the leaders that there had been some unmistakable surges of Fel magic where the Dark Portal had stood. They're trying to open it again, on their side. I can feel it, in my nipples. And the Alliance leaders were like, you what mate? They agreed to offer their full support. There's absolutely no way they were going to stand by staring at their belly buttons and allow the Horde to gain another foothold on Azeroth. Turalyon led the military effort from Stormwind. He tasked Daval Prestor with taking a small army to the Blasted Lands. Blasted Lands? You go ahead now. I'll rally the rest of the Alliance soldiers and meet you there, old friend, old buddy, old pal. Which would have been a good plan if they'd maybe started doing it a little bit sooner. Because within a few weeks of Khadgar's warning, ner'zhul succeeded in expanding the rift between Draenor and Azeroth. Grommash didn't waste any time and immediately led the spear tip of the Horde's invasion force through the rift. This consisted of the Warsongs, Shattered Hand, Thunderlord and Laughing Skull clans. They were also joined by Gorefiend and his Death Knights. The Orcs also immediately built a new stone frame around the rift so it would stay open without needing a constant source of energy. And there you go, a Dark Portal again. Kilrogg and the Bleeding Hollow clan had been watching over the Blasted Lands. Blasted Lands? They were ever hopeful that the Horde would make its return, and so they were pretty bloody excited by this. They informed Grommash and the Death Knights of what had happened since the Second War. This information would prove invaluable over the next few days, and Gorefiend turned to Kilrogg and was like, man, you look tired. Why don't you and your clan go back to Draenor for a bit? Have a rest, drink some cocktails. So the Bleeding Hollow clan buggered off back home. At this point, Daval Prestor and his little crappy army arrived. There were more orcs than you could shake a stick at, whereas the human army was, well, there were probably like 12 of them or something. Brutal close quarters combat erupted, and Mr. Trollbane was the only member of his army to leave the battle alive. He cheesed it to Netherguard Keep and was hoping to use its garrison. Despite the massacre, he still felt pretty confident he could contain the Horde threat until the rest of the Alliance arrived, for some reason. However, this wasn't an invasion. The Orcs had no interest in conquest this time, but they did make it look that way, as a distraction. Orc soldiers acted as if they were preparing for a full assault, whilst Gorefiend and his Death Knights led a hunting party out of the Blasted Lands in search of the artefacts. The Alliance didn't notice these sneaky buggers, but someone did, Garona, and she decided to follow them and find out what the balls they were up to. Meanwhile, Deathwing had been in hiding for a little while ever since his last plan failed, but he was pretty excited when the rift to Draenor started expanding, and then immediately disappointed again when he realised the Horde weren't planning on invading Azeroth. But he was still intrigued by their plan. He decided to take on human form again and play silly buggers with Alliance politics. It had been an effective tactic during the First War, plus there was a new, different political crisis he could have a bit of fun with. The Alliance was still furious over Ultirak's betrayal, and had been debating what punishment they should receive ever since. These debates were held in Lordaeron, so Deathwing took on a new human form, Lord Daval Prestor, who was a distant cousin of King Perinold or something. Good sense of humour and likes long walks on the beach. This connection to Ultirak royalty would give him a little bit more influence. Prestor advised King Terenas to establish martial law in Ultirak until the line of succession could be settled. From the Alliance leader's perspective, Prestor was a charming, nice bloke who seemed to care more about the Alliance rather than just Ultirak's interests. However, in actual fact, he was being a bloody jerk, because by establishing martial law in Ultirak, the Alliance's army would be split. But why, you ask? Is Deathwing just being a dick for the sake of it? Nah, he does have a plan. Deathwing realised that the likelihood of him being able to restore the Black Dragonflight on Azeroth was kinda low. He had too many enemies. But, on the Orcs' homeworld, Draenor, he didn't have any enemies. Nobody would threaten him there. So what if the planet was dying? Big whoops. Dragons don't need to live off the land like mortals do. Couldn't give a shit, mate. It's time for Deathwing to make contact with the Horde. Again. And we're leaving it there! In the next Volume 2 video, the Death Knights go after the first artifact, whilst the Alliance torture an Orc to find out what the bloody hell's going on. As always, thanks very much to those of you who support the channel as patrons. Links in the description if anyone's interested in supporting the channel in that way. Also, there's a link to the Discord server in there as well. If you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, all of that bollocks. And all that's left to say is, thanks for watching, and see ya!